Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my bathroom. And I say welcome back because the last video that I just filmed in this bathroom was me finding out that I am pregnant with baby number 3. And so far I am, I think 18 weeks I need to check the app. This is such like a baby number 3 type thing. Today we are doing a line progression video from my pregnancy test. So I did this with my last baby. You guys loved the video. You said it was super informative, and I'm here to do the same thing and also preach to you why you should be using ovulation strips, because I am a person who does not get 30-day cycles. Let me get into it. Before I explain all the ovulation stuff to you, because I know there's some of you who are just interested in the line part of the video, I'm going to get to the line part of the video first. You can watch that and then we can explain the ovulation later. Here are my tests. I took the first response test. I did also take the easy at home test, which is like the Amazon pack that everybody talks about. I've used them for all 3 babies now and I love them, and I got the same results. They showed on the exact same day. So if you're looking for cheaper, you don't need the first response test. The easy at home test showed on the exact same day as well. This is my 9 DPO test. I never imagined I'd keep pregnancy tests so long. I need to they're kind of dusty. That's maybe not good, I guess, but I guess you guys are just gonna have to live with it. Sorry. Like I said, I am now 18 weeks. I took this when I was literally technically 3 weeks, 5 days or something like that. So here is my 9 DPO test. I feel like this is always the one that people want to know about. I want to point out with my other 2, I never got a positive on 9 DPO. I only got a positive 12 DPO and on. And they looked like this from 12 DPO and on. I will link my first pregnancy line progression test video down below. You can clearly see there's 2 lines there. Here is my 10 DPO. So you can clearly see that our HCG has doubled overnight because I took these with first morning pee. And you can clearly see how much darker it is from day to day. From 10 to 11, you can see it actually didn't darken very much. I try not to let that trip me up in the mental game of things like this. It darkened maybe just a tiny bit, but you'll see on 12 DPO why I was kind of Here is 12 DPO right underneath the 11 DPO. You can see, I guess in certain lighting, it looks a little bit darker than 11 DPO. In person, it looks about the same. So I was kind of okay, what is going on? But I guess this would be the pro to taking pregnancy tests every day, because then I lined up the 10 DPO on top of these guys and realized, oh wow, the difference from 10 DPO to 12 DPO, take 11 out of there. There is definitely a darker line. You're looking for the line on the left there. This is day 12 to 13. You can see we're getting a lot darker now, darkening up that line. We're not quite dye stealers yet, which means a dye stealer means that you would be stealing dye from the control line, but we're close. We're close to being even with it. We're about the same now on 14 DPO, pretty much the same as the control line here. 15 DPO, I'd say we look a little darker than the control line, but I would not say we're a dye stealer quite yet. And that's because when 16 DPO comes into the picture, I'm yeah, that's definitely not a dye stealer, because look, the control line is still darker on 16 DPO. What you're checking for with these lines as they're getting darker, they would start to get lighter if you were having a chemical pregnancy, which of course, all of us who are trying to get pregnant here don't want. That would be the point of taking all these tests if you were not trying to film it. I'm taking all these tests so that I can help you by filming it. But this is day 17 DPO, and here we have our first dye stealer, or at least what I would call the first dye stealer. You see how that left line is just a little darker than the control line. Just tiny bit. So maybe not even a dye stealer. I don't know. We're getting close though. Here is 17 to 18. 18, you can see we're definitely becoming a dye stealer here. See how that is a darker purple, pink. Well, it's purple now, but it's pink when you first take it compared to the control line. Here are 18 and 19 DPO. 19, we're definitely dye stealers here, making me feel much better about this pregnancy sticking and implanting well. Here are 19 and 20. We're not getting a ton darker, but it is still staying the same. I don't know. Your HCG doubles, I think it's about every 24, possibly 48 hours. It depends on what day you're on, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been, about 18 weeks since I have actually worried about any of this, but that's what you're kind of looking for, is for it to just slightly keep getting darker. But sometimes when it stays the same, it means that your HCG levels have just not doubled yet. Here's 20 and 21. I feel like we're getting maybe just a teensy bit darker on 21 DPO. At this point, I was already feeling some pregnancy symptoms that I had recognized from my other 2 pregnancies. And this is 21 DPO, or 22 DPO, which honestly, they look kind of all about the same. But this is, again, why it's helpful to have some of these previous tests to look back on. It's funny looking back on some of these tests now that I am further along in my pregnancy. And I'm like, wow, I was not panicking at all at those 19 through 22 DPOs, but they all look the same. Just the Lord giving me peace, I guess. I was already feeling those pregnancy symptoms and recognizing them. And so I realized, I think this baby is going to stick. For those of you out there experiencing miscarriage or chemical pregnancy, or just having a hard time getting pregnant, I'm sorry. And I hope this video is helpful for you when you do get that positive pregnancy test. And I hope for a sticky baby for you. I'm going to show you all of them in a line now, so you can just see the progression of them as they go from day to day. I'll try and take it a little bit slow for you. Here we go, starting at 9 DPO at the top. You're looking at the left line. You can see as we're getting darker. Let me zoom in. 9. So you can see we're getting gradually darker here. 16 on down. Definitely getting darker as we're stealing the dye from the test. Down to 22. This is the one that a lot of people are love to take, this clear blue digital test. It's not my favorite, to be honest, because at 9 DPO, there's no way it would have picked this up and said pregnant. So it would have made me double think that. How would you say that? Overthink that, I guess. I got this on 10 DPO pregnant, which you can see that my HCG had doubled. It was a clear double line there. And on my last pregnancy test video, I said, just open it up and see if there's 2 lines. And I didn't know why you weren't supposed to open it. I'd always been told not to open it, but they always have 2 lines. Doesn't matter if you're pregnant or not, it's always going to have 2 lines. If you do happen to open this up and it says pregnant or whatever, your line is going to be darker if you are pregnant. So anyway, this one said pregnant at 10 DPO. I don't love this one just because it's not as sensitive as the first response, which is, in my opinion, the most sensitive for me. And the easy at home was actually very similar to. I'm going to see if I can find those tests. I know I taped them to a piece of paper somewhere, but where? Here are all of the easy at home sticks. You can see right here it says easy at home. These are the pregnancy tests. It comes in that big pack with the ovulation strips and the pregnancy tests. So I took as many as I had left over. And you can see at 9 DPO, which is my very first one here, I took this one. This was the very first pregnancy test I took, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's positive. I'm trying to hold it as still as I can for you, but you can see there's a faint line there. A faint line is a positive unless it's an evap. And then we move on to 10 DPO and 11 DPO. You can see it's just getting darker. So is it as dark as the first response? No, but did it pick it up on the same day as the first response? Yes. Then 12 DPO to 13 to 14. You can see that left line is just steadily getting darker. 15, 16, 17. And I think this is why I kind of wasn't worried, because I also had these tests to compare it to, and I could see that these tests were getting darker. So these are 18, 19, and 20 down here. And 20 was, well, actually in between 19 and 20 were my dye stealers, where the left hand line, the test line, took from the control line. which means your HCG is getting stronger, which is exactly what you want. Okay, now for those of you who have stuck around and you're wondering about my ovulation. Technically, according to my app, I did not get my first positive pregnancy test until 19 DPO. If you don't know anything about ovulation, I suggest looking up videos on here because they can be very helpful. Ovulation, DPO, means days past ovulation. So I was on 19 DPO, and that's when I got my first positive. They always tell you you can get your first positive from 9 DPO and on, which technically I did, but I only knew that because I knew my cycle and what was happening. According to my app, I was 19 DPO. Had I have taken it to what they had said was my 9 DPO, first of all, I wouldn't be pregnant because they were not correct on my ovulation at all. And second of all, I would have thought, let's say somehow a God miracle happened and I did get pregnant while I wasn't ovulating. I would have thought that I was not pregnant the whole time. I mean, I would have never checked on 19 DPO. I would have just assumed that I wasn't pregnant and probably found out in a couple months. I'm here to preach that I think these apps are fabulous. I think they're a great way to track, but you cannot rely on them for being your tell-all of when you are ovulating. They do not know you and they do not know your body. So according to my app, I think the most amount of days in a cycle that I can put are 32 days. Well, that's a problem for me because I've never had a 32-day cycle, or maybe I have. Maybe I have like a couple years ago, but now I have 40 to 43-day cycles, okay? And at the time of getting pregnant this time, as well as last time, I was still breastfeeding. That throws a ton of things off because your hormones are all in whack. I was having a 43-day cycle this time that I got pregnant. I did not ovulate until day 24 of my cycle, of my 43-day cycle. According to the Glow app, which is what I was using, they thought I had a 32-day cycle. They did not know that I had a 43-day cycle, even though I had already inputted before that I had been having longer cycles. I still couldn't change that. So they thought that my ovulation was still around day 14, 15. So they put me as 19 DPO before I got my first pregnancy test. Had I have listened to them saying that I was ovulating around day 14, 15, I wouldn't have even gotten pregnant because I didn't even ovulate until 10 days after that. 10 days after that, when I should have been getting my first positive pregnancy test, according to them, is when I was actually ovulating. So that is why it is so important to use ovulation strips. I was even confused. I was like, man, am I not ovulating? Like, is that why, like, I'm still breastfeeding? Like, that could be making things weird a little bit. Like, why am I not ovulating? But I just kept taking the ovulation strips. I figured, well, there's no harm in just taking them until I hit my period, and then I'll know if I ovulated or not. And I happened to ovulate. But I also have a very late luteal phase, I guess, which is what happens after ovulation. And in the months when I was not pregnant, I would have a very short, not late luteal phase, but a short luteal phase. So your luteal phase, I guess, is supposed to last another 14 days or something like that. And mine only lasted like 9, which sometimes can also affect you getting pregnant. For me, it did not have any effect on it, which is, praise God. That is what was happening like the months prior to getting pregnant, as I was still breastfeeding. I wasn't breastfeeding at night anymore, which is why I got my cycle back. And then I had been tracking my ovulation for several months and we finally got pregnant. So anyway, all that to say, thank you for watching my video. Hopefully that made any sense to you at all. I know it's so confusing when you're in it and there's so many moving parts. It feels like just try to enjoy your time in this sweet season of life of trying for a baby. I know maybe it's not so sweet for you and maybe you've been waiting a really long time, and I would just suggest clinging to the Lord in this time. So thanks for watching my video and see you guys next time. Bye.